time on my calendar, period. Hey, Jason.
You are live.
Oh, cool.
It's okay.
We're just getting ready for the podcast.
We're just getting ready.
Okay, I got to text Jason back because he wants to meet
That's okay.
Wednesday, and Sean says the event doesn't start till noon. So
okay, great.
We're good.
Great. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, that's live. That's live. We are live.
What's
on
up?
Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Although you need to pull your microphone, they can't hear a word you're saying.
Ha 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 ha. Works better when you use the microphone. Can you see comments as they come in?
Yes, we will be able to see comments. We have one viewer right now.
Hey.
I don't know where right now, but anyway.
We are having by the way, if you're watching, I'm about to pull Richard onto the podcast. We haven't done a podcast with Richard and I since our very first episode, maybe second episode. And now we're at episode 50. So I want to know what you think we should talk about. If you're seeing this live, put it in the comments because we can see those. I need you to do it soon, though, because we're going to pull him from his seat, and then he won't be able to read the comments. So what do you want to know about the behind the scenes, about what we do as far as speaking engagements, our business, our podcast, our marriage, our kids? We are not pretending to do everything perfectly, but we've made a lot of, we had a lot of learning experiences. I'll put it that way. We've learned a ton in all of those areas, and we're still figuring stuff out. I think it was Alex Hormozy, wasn't it, babe, that said, like, everyone's just faking it?
Yeah.
Now, that I don't want to say that in terms of eroding credibility, because people have huge accolades, and there are imposters out there. There are actual imposters who are lying and say they have done things that they haven't done, and they have no business doing what they're doing. And then there's people, I'm going to sneeze. Thank you. Then there's people who have imposter syndrome, who think they're an imposter and they're not, and they need to be out there doing things. And then there's people that don't think they're an imposter, and they just own their stuff, and they know that they're learning, and they're very humble, but they're also very educated, and they know how to do stuff. So I want to know what you want to know from us. What do you want to know about how Richard and I do business, about how we do marriage, about how we do family, all that fun stuff? Throw it in the comments. We'll be able to see it pop up, and we will answer your questions. It's going to be great. Richard right now is streaming. We are live on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, which I still haven't logged into, Facebook, YouTube. That's 6 platforms. Am I missing anything?
Let's see. Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X.
X, that's the one I missed.
Yeah.
We're live on X. I need to log into that.
All right.
Threads doesn't support live, does it?
No, it does not. Otherwise, we would.
For real. So many of you have found me because of Threads. Threads is one of my new favorite platforms. It's like this. Threads is like this really, I don't know if it's just because it's fairly new to the marketplace. It's been alive for about a year. I don't know if it's just still learning from us, but it is a platform that is very authentically driven. It's not a ton of algorithm based. What I'm noticing about Threads is that it feeds you topics that you talk about, not just in Threads, but topics that you talk about around your phone. As we all know, our phone's listening to us all the time, and Threads will listen to that and then show you stuff that is that's relevant to what you're talking about. With this thread is relevant to my interest, kind of a thing. Anyway, I like Threads. I love what it's doing for us. We got 100 new followers on Threads.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so this is the show, guys. Welcome. I feel like we're between two ferns. We
Yeah.
still have to get our plants. So what I do want to say is that we started this podcast in our other studio.
Other studio.
That's generous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Remember when we started our podcast and we were in our bedroom?
Mm-hmm. In our bedroom, and then we would do it in the office as well from time
That's
to time.
right. And then we did that other studio that we had access to.
We had that other studio for a little while, That was a nice little studio. I liked
That was great.
It was good. I hated having to travel to it though.
That was the packing and
Well,
unpacking.
it was the not only the travel, but it was the travel plus having to bring everything with us. If it was a studio that we could just bring an SD card to,
Yeah.
and just show up and sit down, record, and leave, that would have been great. But it was just a room that we were able to use, and that's why even I wasn't super broken up about it when we lost access to it.
It kind of
was like,
forced us into doing
it
this.
was like, oh, now I have an excuse to actually finish the studio. So
Which we had wanted to do since we built this house.
Yep.
This room was the studio room, and we called it that before there were even walls on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember building the walls?
I am not a construction person.
I
can do it. I can do it.
You do, and that's what I love
but
about
it's
you.
very frustrating.
I think we learned some new vocabulary in this house.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things, though, is right behind this wall, there are some studs. And do you remember what we wrote on the studs?
I remember we wrote a bunch of positive juju on them.
Yeah, there's some positive juju, but I remember specifically on these two studs right here, we wrote down our goals about getting our clients on 1 million stages and making $1 billion doing it.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. So I think about that whenever we're here, especially with the podcast workshop that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that records in this studio is like, boom, here's another stage.
Yeah.
And it's happening in this room. And boom, here's another way to get customers and tripwires and all that. I was just texting Jason about meeting up. Maybe he should just text me back. That's awesome. So he might do an episode with us in the morning.
Oh, great.
Jason, as you were saying, you met with him?
I did. Yes.
And he's like, how many episodes in his podcast?
He's a bunch of episodes in, but they haven't fully dialed in all of their processes to be able to have like a lead gathering mechanism for their podcast.
And he's got probably 160 episodes.
I don't remember how many. It's over 100.
Over 100, and then working on lead gen. First of all, I'm just like, that's a lot of shows. Way to freaking go! Because if you get over 20 or 21.
If you get over 21 episodes, you're in the top 1% of podcasts.
Yeah. And most people won't stick with it that long.
Nope.
They get burnt out. They get overwhelmed. They're like, one of the things that I think is so fascinating about this is that people start a podcast and they're like, yeah, I can talk about stuff for a long time, right? Then they talk for maybe an hour plus their first episode. And then the second episode, I heard Pat Quinn talk about this. He nailed it on the nose. He's like, they go all, crazy on the first episode. And they're like, yeah, that was good. And then they go to their second episode and they're like, oh, this is not quite an hour. I could do a 45-minute episode. That's okay. And then by the third episode, they get tired of repeating themselves and it's like 20 minutes long and they haven't learned how to interview people. They haven't learned how to use the podcast and network. And then the podcast dies.
Yeah.
And they get 6 episodes in and then it's dead.
And then it's dead.
And like, we have some friends that have been through that.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think keeps a podcast going?
I think it's your ability to not see the results of your hard work and keep working. That's what will keep you going on a podcast, and honestly any business for that matter. Your ability to continue to work without seeing results.
Who was it? What podcast were we listening to? Was it Chris on Modern Wisdom about the gym?
Yeah, he said that really well. He said the gym is one of the few places that you get to see your results before they actually happen, because when you work out, you get the pump, you get your muscles, get that pump, and you kind of get a preview of what your hard work will look like in the future. It's like, okay, where I'm at right now, pumped, is what I'm going to look like flat in 9 months or a year if I keep at it and I keep consistent. So it's one of the few things that you can do where you actually get a preview of what your hard work will be.
How do you get that in a business? How from when you and I started this podcast, I think the only reason that we started it, if I could boil it down to one thing, is because we saw the potential of what it could become.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're at 50 episodes in right now. We've had some amazing guests on the show. Maybe we'll talk about favorite guests in a minute, like favorite moments. But what do you think it is with we're 50 episodes in. What did you think the final result would be, or at least a milestone? What made you say, "Hey, that I'm bought into this idea. Let's do this"? Because we've invested thousands of dollars into putting the studio in, into equipment, all of that. I mean, we were adding it up the other day, and it was what, like, easy
Several
$8,000,
thousand,
right?
yeah.
And not to say that everyone has to have that to start. We certainly didn't.
No.
But what was the pump in your head as far as a podcast goes? What made you say, "Yeah, let's do that"?
I think just seeing the success of others, that I get a lot of, maybe you don't get to see your own pump, right? But you see what other people are doing, right? So I look at Modern Wisdom. I look at the Joe Rogan Experience. A big one that I like to look at because it's not a massive podcast, but he's local and he's really done a lot with it, is the Jimmy Rex Show.
I feel like it's massive. People in the White House are talking about him.
It's a big podcast, and he's
Yeah.
had some amazing guests on it. But it's no Modern Wisdom, right?
Not yet.
It's not as big as Modern Wisdom. It's not as big as Joe Rogan Experience. But it goes to show that with consistency and time and hard work, that even a single dude who's just doing real estate can grow a podcast to be that as big as it is, right? And so I guess I draw a lot of that from just seeing the success of others and like being like, yeah, I could totally do that. Why? Of course we can do that.
That's cool. I love you've kind of drawn a line between inspiration, like that person or that podcast or that pumped dude at the gym inspires me, versus competition.
Oh yeah, no, it's not competition. Like why? When people are like, oh, there's the podcast, the space is too saturated.
I've
There's
heard
too many
that.
podcasts. There's
Oh
too
my
much
gosh.
competition. No, like there's a ton of podcasts out there, but like we said, the stat out there that I love that Alex Hormozy said is you get over 21 episodes and you're in the top 1%. How awesome is it that it's
That's all it takes.
it's that easy. It's that easy. You can become a top 1% of something in the world with your iPhone and 21 episodes. That's insane to me.
That makes me excited.
That's insane. An iPhone to hit record, maybe get a mic, get one of those little, lavalier mics so that it sounds a little bit better. But even then, you don't necessarily need that.
Our first shows.
Our first episodes were all shot on an iPhone. An iPhone and a tripod.
I shot an episode with Heather with using 3 iPhones. I felt so fancy.
Yeah, right?
I was like, there's camera 1 and camera 2 and camera 3.
and that's it's kind of crazy. But it just goes to show also that there's a lot you can do, right? We started with just an iPhone and those Rode Wireless Go 2 mics, but now we have a full camera setup. We're streaming live at the same time that we're recording, which I think is just kind of cool. I'm actually kind of surprised that there aren't more podcasts that do that.
I know some that do either or.
Yeah.
They'll stream the podcast or they'll record it.
But they don't really do both. I think, is Brigham the only one that I know of that does it?
And yeah, Brigham streams live and he records, but I don't know if he's using...
He's not.
Like,
from
the
what I
entire
understand,
gamut.
so Zoom has a plug-in to where when you're on a Zoom call, you can stream it to Facebook Live.
We weren't even on Zoom though.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's cool that Zoom has it.
Zoom has that feature, and I think StreamYard has that
Yeah,
feature.
the one with little duck. That's the one we were on.
And yeah, anyway. So there are a couple out there that allow you to do just Facebook for some weird reason. But we're using some other stuff to be able to multi-stream to all the platforms all at the same time. So
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that about you. You can set up the tech
just
stuff.
the geekiness, and I'll just say it. Shout out to good old why is his name blanking me now? Josh.
Jones?
No, from the event center.
Oh, Halvey.
Halvey. Good old Halvey.
Halvey, you're the bomb.
You are the bomb. And you know what's so cool is like just me sitting there and watching you work gave me all the ideas that I needed to be able to do so much of what we've done. A lot of the studio is inspired by Halvey. The way that we stream is inspired by Halvey, like all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if he even realized that I was watching him so intently because I knew that we would use a lot of the things that he's done, and it's been amazing.
Yeah. Didn't
He's
you
a
guys
genius.
jam every now and then and be like,
I mean,
hey?
no, I mean, every once in a while I'll be like, this is kind of cool. Tell me about this,
Yeah.
And at the time, I had no idea we were going to build a studio or anything. But I was just like, part of me though kind of knew that like I would need to know this at some point, right? And we'll eventually get to the point where I'm not the one running all this back end anymore.
No. I mean, every
But,
entrepreneur has to be
Yeah,
hands-on
you
at
got
first.
to do it yourself at first, and so that's where we're at, and it's helped that I'm kind of a nerd as well. So anyway, I've spent a lot of time on YouTube figuring out this stuff.
It does help.
Yeah.
We would not be where we are if you didn't have the back end built.
It's that, but I love that. I love doing all that. So
And that is something I'm grateful for because I don't love that.
yeah,
I'm glad that it works. I love when it works, and I don't know how to make it work. And the relief that I have in being able to say, hey, do you think you could, like, this idea that I have, could you make it happen? Could you make it? Could we do that? Could we do that? And then you're like, probably. And then go to YouTube and figure it out.
Yeah. And just go YouTube it and figure it out, and we'll build it.
Yeah.
And if I have to, I'll figure out how to do it with making ChatGPT write the code to do it for me.
I feel bad because sometimes you come to me and like, look at this thing I did. And I'm like, that's cool. But it took you like 8 hours of up in the morning at 4:30 and writing code through ChatGPT and make it like, I don't think I have a full appreciation for the level of depth that clicking a button, like the back end of that button working.
There's a lot that goes on behind it.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Like my brother had a patent
Mm-hmm.
with two, actually. One is for the little leaf that shows up on ancestry. You know what that is?
Mhm.
Like if there's a hint that shows up, it's because he created a patent that allows that whatever that leaf to pop up because it's searching all of the census records and all of the internet and who knows what else for a hint to drop.
The indexing. I read his patent. It's
Oh, you did?
it's indexing. Yeah.
I don't know how
He
to read
wrote
that.
some stuff he wrote some algorithms and code on how to do indexing properly. So
So I want you to know, if it's not understood yet, I'm doing it publicly. I appreciate you.
I know you do.
Okay, favorite moments from the show so far. I know this is like non-mainstream for our show, but some of my favorite episodes have been with Heather.
Yeah, those are. I can tell you have a lot of fun with those.
I do.
I cringe.
Why?
I cringe. It's just not my type of. It's not what I would choose to watch.
And honestly, we don't even care if nobody watches it.
And that's why it's so fun for you guys. 'Cause
It's
you
a
don't
blast.
care.
No, we don't give two shits about it. Now you
Yeah.
have to put an explicit on this episode.
I do have to. Put
The only reason I hesitate is it causes more work for you.
No, it's just a click of a button. It's
Oh,
a
okay.
radio button on. Does it contain explicit or not?
Yeah. So like the last episode we did we post the painting one, the screen painting one yet?
No, that one hasn't been posted yet.
Oh my gosh.
You've only posted the first episode.
I thought we had 2 up.
No, only the first one is up so
Oh.
far.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have the painting one and then our very, very first one that we didn't do here. We did out at the rental studio. Do you
Yeah.
have that one, or do I need to still
Well, I
get
think
those to
you
you?
still need to find it for me and give
Okay,
it to
it's
me.
on Google Drive. I
Yeah.
have 3 camera angles for you, so
That'll be great.
You're
I'll
welcome.
probably only use one of them, but because if I don't have 3 different audio sources, it's going to be.
I don't
we'll see.
remember.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And there's like empty space in some of it. It's so ridiculous. Like Heather and I were talking about continuing to record here in the studio area, but she's like, when the studio is completely finished, we won't have like crappy drywall and studs to like, we need to be so unfinished. So she wants us to keep part of the basement unfinished so that we can record in front of drywall. She's like, this is too formal for the
This is
podcast.
too formal.
We can't do anything because the last one we slung paint everywhere. I don't know. Yeah.
To find out some other place to do it. Then,
Yeah.
I guess.
We also need to go downtown and interview people. And
That'll be a YouTube episode, not a podcast
Why
episode,
not?
right? I mean, I guess you could make it a podcast episode.
I think it would be fun. We need to do our ninja skills. You featured in that episode. Is that why you haven't posted it yet? You have a feature.
No, That's not why. It's just we have other content that's
We do.
going out.
We do have other content that's going out. So those are some of my favorite episodes. I would say another one of my favorites to film was with Sean.
That was a good one. I'm really glad that we met Sean, and that was an amazing episode. We learned a lot from him. Yeah, Sean is an awesome person.
Yeah, if you're in Utah and you don't know Sean Finnegan, you need to because he's awesome.
He is.
Shout out to the Tax Hive too for hosting our events coming up.
Yep.
They're going to be.
We have that big event coming up in October.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Oh, by the way, I was thinking about this morning. I owe y'all apology because Richard told me I should reshoot the intro to the last episode, and I didn't. And I said Maddie would be up next, but she or the kids, I can't remember if it was her that got sick or maybe it was both. The kids got sick and we couldn't record that date we wanted to. So Maddie Hoskins will be on the show. We just need to set up a new time for her. So my apologies. I should have reshot that intro.
It's okay.
Okay, give me some of your favorites. What have been some of your favorite moments? Because you watch every episode almost twice. If you're in the room, you see it live.
Well, actually, no. So
you sometimes.
I don't.
Yeah.
Because I watch it when it happens live in the moment. But the way we produce this podcast, I don't edit the middle. I'll watch the beginning to be able to choose like where we start.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, of course, I'm editing to be able to choose where in the first couple of minutes we drop our podcast database CTA. And then I'll edit the end. Because normally you'll be like, okay, great. Well, thank you for being on the show. And then like, that's the end of the show. But you guys keep talking for a little bit before someone hits stop on the camera.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of edit that little. So I edit the beginning, I edit the end, and that's it.
Okay, question. Do you ever listen to the show?
Well, yeah, we do usually, right? The way to
church.
On the way to church, well, because it drops like right when we're gonna go to church,
right?
So and I will listen. I will go back and listen to the ones that are remote podcasts because I'm not there live to listen to them, right? So like one that I in particular that I remember, I went back and don't ask me what it was. It was a long time ago. I don't remember. But I remember I went back and I watched the one with Salt because I wasn't there. Wasn't there for that one.
So have you seen every single episode?
I'm pretty sure I've seen every single episode.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
That'd be
in
funny.
one way or another. Whether through editing it or not. Now the talk tips, I edit and listen to that entire thing.
Well, and you're
multiple times
because I'm
here to I'm here to record and
I'm like, stop, don't post that one. I messed up.
You'll be like, hang on. I'm having a brain fart right now. And then you're like, okay, let's go back. And so then I have to edit all that out. So I listen to it at least twice, if not 3 times.
How do you handle so much of me in your life?
It's the best.
Oh,
it's the best.
That's what you're supposed to say, but
it's the best. I love it. This is way better than sitting and my cybersecurity stuff that I did and just sorting through endless lines of logs, looking for, some needle in a haystack as to why a hacker was able to do what they did. Like, that was great. I love that job. I love cyber, but this is so much more fulfilling.
I've seen a lot of your problem-solving skills in both of those arenas come through.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I learned a ton doing all that cyber stuff that I did.
What's been the most cringy part of the production of this show?
Your episodes with Heather. I told
Heather,
you I cringe.
Don't be offended.
I told you I cringe every time I see those. To me, that's cringy.
We know.
That's why you do it, is because it's cringy. And so, yeah, of course, that's the cringiest part.
But we have so much fun, though.
Yeah, you do, and that's great.
Okay, other than Heather's episode, not that it's Heather's fault.
No, it's not Heather's fault.
It's just our sense of humor, which I'm not going to apologize for.
No, and you shouldn't.
Because it's freaking hilarious.
But I think it's cringy.
Richard doesn't like Mr. Bean, you guys.
No,
I don't understand.
That's not my type of humor.
It's so funny.
Not to me. I'm like, okay, I'm watching this idiot do this stupid thing for the 50th time. Like, it's just not
I'm just
funny
like,
to me.
what trauma did you go through to make you not like Mr. Bean?
It's not about trauma. It's just like, this is stupid.
No, it's amazing. Like, so Mr. Bean you don't like, Napoleon Dynamite you don't like, Nacho Libre you don't like.
I mean, those are okay for their moments, right? And
Oh, you're gonna start a fight.
I mean, it's
That's
just
okay. Own your opinion.
Nacho Libre is better. I can than like Napoleon Dynamite. Napoleon Dynamite to me is just dumb. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's so dumb.
What about Monty Python?
Monty Python I can deal with. It's okay. Yeah.
Can deal with.
I can tolerate that. It's funny every once in a while, right? I'm not going to watch it a ton.
No,
but
I mean you shouldn't.
No. It's too dumb. You can't bring yourself to do it. And I think the difference is my tolerance level for that is just way lower than yours.
Your tolerance level for stupidity?
For
Is that what you're saying?
that kind of stupid humor, right? You can watch it way more often than I can.
But I don't, though. You are usually, as Cheryl says, the picker of movies.
Well, yeah. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
That is a conscious thing, by the way. Also, I don't care to watch TV a lot. So
yeah. And for me, that's
that.
like my way to unplug and turn my brain off and decompress.
I can't do it. I'm like, you'll sit in the same position to the point where you leave butt prints in the couch.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, this kid needs this. This kid needs this. I need to empty the dishwasher. Right now I could do this. And it's like yesterday was a perfect example of this. There was hours of football to be watched.
Oh, yeah.
And it needed to be watched.
It was amazing.
Yesterday. And I was like, I cannot. Like I want to enjoy the fun plays and stuff, but it's not that I'm adverse to football or TV at all. It's just there's so much else that I can do. You know, the girls' rooms needed to be reorganized, and I got so much fulfillment from moving their stuff and helping them clean. It's like I would rather vacuum the stairs than
sit and relax.
That's not the same thing. I love sitting and relaxing.
That's my version of sitting and relaxing.
It is
sitting there, relaxing, and watching football.
For me, it has to be active. TV watching is an active thing. Like, this is why I get so triggered when like we're watching a show and someone is on their phone. Anyone is on their phone, you know, because I'm like, a funny part. And then I look down and we didn't get to enjoy it together because nobody else was paying attention.
Sometimes it's not about paying attention. It's about the fact that I'm just doing nothing.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it was like football was on and there was like a line of requests coming in my right ear. Mom, look at this. Mom, look at this. Mom, look at this. And sometimes they would double up and ambush me. And then there was like...
This makes it seem like all I did was sit on my ass and watch football all day while you took care of the kids.
You work 15 hours a day.
And I love that I work. I think for me, I work so hard during the week and then I relax so hard.
You do.
On the weekends.
It's like a sport.
I do.
It's a competitive, relaxing sport.
I'm gonna try and relax as much as possible,
which is a skill I lack.
But I can only do it for so long, right? I can only do it for so long.
Yeah.
I still have to get up and go do things, but and a lot of times, yesterday was an exception. I didn't do it so much, but 2 weeks ago, I was sitting there watching football all day, but I had my laptop out working.
I don't want everyone to get the wrong impression. I'm glad that you relaxed yesterday. Yeah. Like I said, you work 100 hours a week on this thing. You deserve to relax and to relax hard. We just have different ways of doing it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Although, we do both agree that a week off in Jamaica is pretty relaxing.
Yeah.
Kind of should do that again.
We need to do that again.
I think that the timing of it is getting closer because I keep getting these little...
We're going to get
bumps.
there soon, I think. We're going to get there soon.
Where do you want to go, Jamaica?
We're still building this business.
Yeah, we can't leave it for a week.
We can't leave it yet.
No, it needs more. We can't leave it in the hands of a babysitter for a week.
No. But I think maybe next summer, next fall, we'll be able to.
That'd be fun. Where do you want to go?
I think Jamaica was fun, but I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, me too.
I want to go somewhere neither one of us have been.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I sent you a reel the other day about some ideas for that.
Okay. Well, good.
So,
all right.
It's on my calendar, as it were.
Or maybe, like we said before, a cruise, because neither one of us has done a cruise before. That'd be kind of fun.
I would love to do a cruise.
Yeah.
Alaskan or Caribbean? I don't know which way you prefer to say it.
I want to do both for sure, but
Alaska-Caribbean.
I would love to do a Caribbean.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Hit up a bunch of ports.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, maybe y'all can recommend some good Caribbean cruises for us.
Yeah.
So, what's next?
Well, it's just continuing to build this, right? We have we've kind of started going a lot with the webinars. You know, at first when we started this business, for me it was like, okay, we've got an offer and we liked our offer and we've continued to improve our offer.
Are you talking about like the offer we had back in January? Or
even then, like, yeah. So now we have a really good offer, right? And even back in January, we still had a really good offer. We have switched up with that offer as from time to time, but nevertheless, we've always had a good offer, I think. Anyone who pays any close attention to me knows that I follow a lot of what Alex Hormozi teaches.
Yeah.
And he teaches first, you got to get an offer, right? And then the leads. And I would say if I were to sum up the last 8-9 months of our business life, it has been leads. Leads.
We have been killing
whatever
it.
we can do to just generate leads. And now I feel like we've done a really good job of building a lead gen machine, right?
How much are we averaging? Like 150 a week?
No, we're spiking at 150 a week at times, but our average right now is 47 leads a week, which is great for a small little business that we have here. And so
Won't stay small and little forever.
Yeah, right. And so I feel like we've finally dialed in the leads problem. And so now we're moving on to trying to figure out the sales problem, and it's a good problem to have, right?
Oh yeah,
so
I would say any problem in business is a good problem to have.
But so now we have enough leads. It's now how are we going to convert these leads, and it might turn into going back and tweaking the offer in order to make sure that the sales can happen. But I think that we have a pretty good offer.
We have a really killer offer. People say yes to it all the time.
Yeah, and so I don't think that it's going to require going back and tweaking the offer. We are hopefully going to be adding a bonus to our offer soon. I'm so excited for. I think
like pouring all my manifesting powers into this working out.
Like right now, I think we have a really good offer. But like Alex Hormozi says, you want to have an offer so good people feel stupid saying no.
Yeah.
I think once we add that last piece to it, that we will finally be at that spot where people will feel stupid saying no.
It's the thing I think about when I'm not thinking about anything else.
That is the piece that's missing from our offer. And once we get that, I think that the sales are going to be even easier. But yeah, so right now it's just, we just hired and onboarded a couple of appointment setters. We've got a closer, and it's just dialing in our sales process now. And so rather than figuring out who are we going to sell this to, now it's, okay, how do we scale the sales? And so that's, I think, what's next is just dialing in that sales process, which anyone who's built a sales team, you included, knows that it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that takes some time.
And it is agonizingly slow when you're in it. It always feels slower than you want it or you need it to be, but you don't want to rush it either.
Yeah.
Because that's when stuff kind of breaks. And when stuff breaks in the sales process, your customers lose confidence in you.
Yeah.
And you can't have that. You need to have stuff that works. So when people buy, they tell their friends about it or they come back with a positive review. If you sell stuff that doesn't work, nothing will destroy your business. Well, there are lots of things that can destroy your business, but few things will destroy your business faster than unhappy customers who have paid.
Yeah.
And we just don't do that.
No. And I feel like we have the fulfillment part down.
Oh, we definitely
have that down. I remember recently I was on a call with someone and she ended up buying and jumping into the Mastery Hive. And as soon as I took her credit card number and we processed it, I have built out that back end to where it does a lot of automations,
so cool.
right?
Yeah.
And it was really cool to hear her say, "Ooh, look at that immediate gratification that you guys provide when you swipe my card." Like that's almost a word for word quote. Yes. Almost a word for word quote.
You're so brilliant.
That she said, which made me feel really good that because
you built that.
For me, I was like, okay, I know that like our offer is a weekly offer. So for a while we didn't have a lot of that up front because
they would have to wait till the next Wednesday.
They'd have to wait till the next Wednesday before they got any value. And it's like they just paid to join the program and they got nothing until the next Wednesday. And I was like, we gotta fix this.
Yeah. That's a smart move.
We took some things and added some things to where now they get like the first module of the e-course. They get that right away. They get access to all of the prior recordings right away. right? And they're getting all of these things that are delivered to them as soon as they swipe their card. So they don't have to just sit and wait for the next call. They already have some stuff to consume.
Because we've had some people that join, they're like, I can't make it next week. And then it's like 10
Exactly.
days.
And then it's 10 days and and they're like, I just spent all this money and I've got nothing for it.
Yeah.
10 days later, I have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And that was not okay. So
That's a good fix.
So we fixed that. I was really happy when we were able to get some of that dialed in. But anyway, yeah. So next thing on the horizon is just dialing in that sales thing. And I can't tell you how excited I am for Alex to come out with his $100 million sales book.
Oh, right.
I have read $100 million offer and $100 million leads probably between the two of them a dozen times.
Wow.
I bet I've read $100 million leads at least 5 or 6 times.
So that we help a lot of people who are, we teach them to do what we've done well.
Yes.
Right. So we don't teach things that we don't know how to do, and we don't teach things that we haven't done. That's really important for me on an integrity play. Like, I'm not going to preach on stuff that we haven't done.
No.
So when we work with individuals, a lot of the times they are solo.
Yes.
I don't know how I would do this alone. Like, seriously, I can set up a Google sheet, and I can set up a Google form, and I can set up things that kind of make it work, and it'll limp along. But I remember after we exited 2 businesses and left those, and, oh gosh, I don't even want to get into that, but it sucked, and it was very expensive to do that. But also to have all of that time and attention put solely focused on this. And we both work this. And I have been able to spend more time with the kids since those other 2 businesses are now out of the picture. Because honestly, you've picked up a lot of the slack. You have. There's no 2 ways about it. And I'm just like, I hope that's okay with him that I'm taking the kids to the zoo today. And I hope that's like,
you're mom. That's your job.
That's my primary mom and wife
job,
are my first
that's
priorities.
That's your role.
Yeah.
Your role is to go be with the kids while I'm working.
So for people that are solo on this, I think eventually you have to bite the bullet.
You do.
You have to bring on someone that can run your back end if you want to scale something. That's not to say that you can't have clients while you're working solo. You can have clients and they can pay. There's very possible and relatively quick ways to cash doing that. But I think if you want to take it seriously and you're going to scale it, you have to have your first, second person to do this.
And I think that first, second person is someone to take administrative things off of your back, right?
Yeah.
For us, even, we hired a VA.
Yeah.
Which she's amazing and does some awesome work for us and takes a lot
to do that. Her name is Heaven.
she does a lot of really great things for us, and I think that's probably the first person most people should hire when trying to scale anything. And honestly, I think even before you try to start to scale, just hire a VA. They're a couple of bucks an hour for some amazing people that are overseas, and some people might say, "Oh, you're giving jobs to people overseas instead of people here, and you're hurting the economy by doing that." But screw the economy. I'm helping an individual. And that person, even though they're only making, a couple of bucks an hour, to them, that's huge. When Heaven told us that she was able to go, her parents, she moved away to start working.
And she's in the Philippines, right?
And she's in the Philippines.
Yeah.
She moved away from her parents and her family to start working. And then when she was hired by us, she was then making enough money to where she was able to go back and visit her family and introduce her family to her son that they had never met because we were paying her. And so I feel like it's such a fair exchange. Like we are providing for her in a way that was just not possible otherwise. And we're getting extreme value out of her.
Oh, we love
and
working
so
with her.
I love working with her, and we'll probably continue to scale VAs through the Philippines just because I've fallen so much in love with working with Heaven.
Well, and you know what? We've had people that we work with here stateside that do stuff for us. And I have to say that, and I don't know that it's strictly geography causation, it's probably correlation, but it doesn't matter where geographically someone is if they are the right person.
Yeah.
I don't care what gender they are. I don't care where
Nope.
they call home. I don't care whatever it is. But the right person for the job
Yeah.
is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And she's definitely the right person for
And
the
it's
job.
and not to make this political, but it's so funny how there are. I'm just going to point out some irony, right? Right now, the irony is that most right-leaning conservative people would say keep jobs in America, right? But yet they're also the same people that are the anti-diversity, anti-woke, like they're like, no, it doesn't matter what race they are, it doesn't matter what gender they are, it's hire the best person for the job.
But in the U.S.
But they have to be in the U.S., otherwise you're anti-American. It's like, no, you're just moving the line. You're just moving the line from your qualifications. Like, you've got left-leaning people who say, we need someone who's going to fit in this little box. And people on the right are like, no. You should never have a box because you should just hire the right person for the job. But yet their box is still someone who should be in America.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, you're just as hypocritical. So anyway, not to trash on either one of them, but it's just...
No, bring the debate, Richard.
It's kind of funny to me how ironic that is, that the people who are all about trying to get rid of hire inside this box are very anti-hiring outside of the United States.
No,
but
I
anyway,
think that's garbage.
it's just ironic.
That's just the right person for the job.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, Heaven is the perfect person for the job because she can work when she wants, when she needs. We're very flexible. I don't care when you get this.
But she gets it done.
Crazy
I've
thing
never
done.
had to.
Yeah, she gets her work done.
Oh my gosh, she's awesome.
And she fits the organization's budget payroll wise.
Yep.
Very easily. And so it's like, yeah, she is the best person for this job.
Yep.
And I don't care where she lives. So anyway,
maybe we'll go to the Philippines. We need to go say hi to her.
that would be cool to go visit her. That would be really cool. So
I want to talk about family in terms of this dynamic because we've pulled the kids out of school publicly. They still are, enrolled in school and all that, and the terms don't really matter. But they don't.
They're essentially homeschooled. They're like dual enrolled because they still go to class a little bit.
They go to the favorite classes like band and
band and art,
seminary and stuff like that. But we don't. We took them out of the GEs.
Yeah,
we do that at home. We took control of their education. Then we also took our business in home, and we don't work for other people anymore. We both had our experience entrepreneurially and then working for other people, and we decided that sucks. And entrepreneurism, as hard as it is, I'm not saying it's easier, but I'm saying for us it's better. So we run everything out of this house.
Yes.
Everything. Our business, our family, the schooling, everything that has to do with our family is run out of this house. And that comes with its fair amount of wins, which obviously are preferable for us, but it also comes with this fair amount of challenges. Where do you see the biggest challenge being that we have fought with and maybe you're still dealing with? I don't know. As far as running the schooling out of here and running the business out of here and maybe even finding what people call balance. I don't like that word. I like harmony.
Yeah.
Between the parenting and the kids' needs and being there for them and integrating them into our business and us supporting them. Like, what's your perspective?
I think that the hardest thing that we've faced is, I like to boil it down to priorities, right? The kids are always the top priority, right? Nothing is ever more important than the kids. But at the same time, I think it's a very important lesson that the kids learn that, hey, yes, I am the most important thing. But the question that I have right now can wait. The question that I'm not a lower priority, but the question that I have is maybe a lower priority right now that can wait, right? And it's hard to look your 9-year-old daughter in the face and say, hey, I'm busy right now.
I hate that word.
I hate that. It's like, but my time right now, if I were to stop what I'm doing to answer every question you have, I would never get anything done. And so I think it's teaching that lesson that they are still the priority, but yet there are other things that are going to take precedent over what their want or what their question is at the time. And it might seem like kind of callous to say that, like, listen, you can wait. But it's an important lesson for kids to learn because, like, right now with say Charlie, right? Say Charlie asks me a question And it's like, well, hang on, I can't do that right now. I'm in the middle of something else. You're still important. Let's get to that later, right? To teach her that that kind of an interaction is okay and sometimes necessary, right? Because eventually she's going to get to the point where she goes and probably gets a job, right? And if she has a question for her boss and her boss says, well, hang on, I'm in the middle of something right now, she needs to learn and have the awareness to know, okay, now is not the right moment to ask this question. Because if you're that annoying employee that just interrupts your boss with every tiny little question, they're probably not going to keep you around very long.
It's disempowering, to be honest.
Yeah. And so to teach Charlie this essential skill with us so that when she enters the workforce, she can kind of read that room, read that situation and know right now is not the best time to ask this question. I can ask this question later. Like, I'm just envisioning like, oh, she goes and works at a fast food restaurant and the boss is working with a customer right now. And she walks up and interrupts the boss talking to a customer to ask a question. And it's like, I am talking to somebody right now. I'm in the
How
middle
many times
of,
have you said that?
Right? I am in the middle of a conversation right now. You, I love you and you are important, but you need to wait. Like that's an essential skill. And it's not that you're less important. By all means, you are the most important thing in the world to me. But there's aspects to life. I think teaching that and combining that with like, it's like, I know it might seem like I'm not doing anything right now, but I am sitting at my computer and I am in deep work right now. And I think that we have even discovered that sometimes we just have to leave because we can't get it.
I know. We hop
like,
over to Starbucks every once in a while with our laptops.
It's like, let's just take our laptops and go to Starbucks and sit there and just work because it's the only way to be able to get any work done because we get interrupted so much. I think that's the biggest challenge is, you know, that word balance, but that balance of making sure the kids' priorities and needs are met and that they feel loved and valued while also maintaining this, I have to sit down and do this. If I don't, like we can take it to the extreme. If I don't get this work done, we won't make money. And we might eventually.
Hey, do you like eating?
Yeah. Like,
do you like having food in the
fridge? You like the fact
like
that we have this house? Like, I need to get this job done so that we actually have revenue coming into our business so that we can pay the bills and have food to eat. And it's, I would never say to our kids like, hey, leave me alone so that I can pay for the bills so that you can eat.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
I'm not going to say that to them, but that's kind of the reality is like, I have to do this right now. And I think that's the biggest challenge for sure.
It's hard.
It's a hard balance.
And it's hard to teach the right lesson because they're going to learn some kind of a lesson.
And I don't want them to walk away from that kind of interaction thinking I'm not important. Right.
And you don't have control over that all the time.
No. But the way that I respond to those situations definitely has an impact on what they decide about themselves in that moment. Yep. And so I think making sure that I don't scar these kids into thinking that they're not important while at the same time maintaining this, I have to grind right now.
Well, and we're kind of leaning into, I think homeschooling has been really good to help with that because we say, don't you have something you need to be doing right now too?
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing my work. And it's now is the time for you to do yours.
Yeah.
Now is the time for you to read that book. Or we have this herbology class. You need to be doing 30 minutes with that. Or isn't this your gym time or whatever it is? And really helping them understand the order of priority.
Yeah.
Right? I remember when I was first working from home and I was doing sales from home for another company. And I would tell the kids, if there's blood, bones, or fire, come get me. If not, you got this.
You gotta wait until I'm done with this.
Yeah, if there's a level of urgency that arises, I'm here. But if not, you've got this. You can figure it out. I forget whose podcast I was listening to. Maybe it was a friend of mine who said I could have been Gary Vee. I don't know. He said I only do 5-minute meetings. Oh, it's Pace Morby.
Okay.
He said I only do 5-minute meetings. He said, and the reason I don't do meetings that are longer than that is because you have not worked enough on the problem to come to me with a solution or at least a proposal of a solution. I want you to problem solve and work it out as much as you can on your own. And then anything that needs to be brought to my attention can happen in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Here's the solution I propose. What do you think? I can poke holes in something in 5 minutes.
Yeah. It reminds me of I've brought this up with our employees that we have, and I've tried to teach it to the kids as well. And again, it's that balance of teaching the kids to problem solve on their own, but at the same time letting them realize that I'm here to help them whenever.
Yeah.
Right. And I learned this from a professor that honestly I did not get along with, when I was going to college. Me and this guy butted heads a lot.
Those are the best teachers
not,
sometimes,
no.
Not saying best instructors. I'm saying
yeah.
best. You're about to share a life lesson.
I learned something very big from this guy.
Yeah.
But it's funny that I learned this from him, even though I hated his teaching style.
Yeah, his best education was not his teaching style.
But anyway,
yeah.
He taught me, and what's funny is I don't know. Anyway, I can't judge it. Okay, what he would tell us is, if you want to come to me with a question, you can come to me with any question, but you have to come to me with 3 things you've already tried.
You use that all the time.
I do, because I love it. Because I it's the worst when it's hard to say, but it's like so frustrating when the kids will come to me and be like, where's this? And I'm like, have you even looked? Like,
every parent is hearing you right now.
I'm not alone in saying that I just want to tear my hair out sometimes when that happens.
But did you
look?
I'm
like, did you go look? Did you try yourself first before you came to me with this problem? And that's, I think, a huge lesson that I took from that professor was, it's like, before you even come to me with a problem, you need to come to me with, okay, I'm having this problem, and I've tried this, and I've tried this, and I've tried this, and I can't figure it out.
And that was Addie this morning with her stinking photo storage and all that. I worked with her for probably 30, 45 minutes, and I cannot. You're the tech guy. I know if I worked for 2.5 hours on it, I could figure it out, but you'll probably spot it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I've done this. I've tried this. We tried connecting this or deleting this, and it went away from here. I don't know what to do. I'm calling in.
Yeah. And that's great. And I'm here to help, and I love to help. After you've tried to help yourself. Not because I don't want to help you, because I think it's more important that they learn how to problem solve themselves, because we're not going to always be here. Take Jalen, for example. She just moved out.
Which is so crazy.
It's crazy to think, but she just moved out. And
like yesterday, guys.
Like yesterday, yeah. And so I hope that she knows how to problem solve on her own. She can pick up the phone and call me whenever she wants.
And we will be there.
And I'll be there. But at the same time, sometimes she might call and I'm recording a podcast, right?
Yeah.
I can't answer the phone right now. She double dials. I don't care if I'm in the middle of a podcast. I'm going to answer it, right?
Yeah.
But if she's got something she's dealing with and she calls me and I don't answer, she shoots me a text and it's like, well, I'm not looking at my phone right now because I'm in the middle of a podcast, then I would hope that before she even gets to that point, it's, okay, I'm going to think about this. I'm going to try this. Okay, no, that didn't work. I'm going to try this. No, that didn't work. I'm going to try this. No, that didn't work. And then she thinks to herself, okay, I have a resource that I can call whenever I need. But at the same time, hopefully on try number 2, she figures it out and she gets a sense of pride.
Yes.
That she figured it out on her own. And that's what I hope the kids take away from me saying sometimes in that frustrated voice of, well, have you tried? And it's, right? And I need to be better at that sometimes, but it's like, well, what have you tried first? And my hope with that is that the kids learn a sense of pride from figuring it out on their own.
And I think a lot of our kids are picking up on that in little pieces here and there. Yeah. One thing that I struggled with as a kid was that attempt, like try the attempt. I was so scared of attempting wrong. I was so scared of, messing up that sometimes it stopped me from even attempting it on my own. But more often than not, I didn't go to people who could help when I should have, for fear of being ridiculed or upbraided or made fun of or chastised or even frustrated with. Yeah. When I had done it wrong, I was like, I don't even want to tell them because I messed up so bad that they're just going to make fun of me, even though I need their help and they could fix it. I don't even want to talk about it because I'm nervous with what they'll say. It's
a huge thing, I think, in the culture here, honestly, and I think this country as a whole. You see these things online, these skits where the teacher will write out like, the 9 times tables on the board, but they miss one on purpose. And the whole class jumps on the
like
teacher like, hey,
piranhas.
you got that one wrong. Like, you messed that up. And the teacher turns around and says, but you didn't even notice the other 11 times that I got it right. And I think that that's a huge thing that we deal with in our culture, that we're so excited to point out when someone gets something wrong, and it's awful.
Some people do it on social media on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
I'm negligent. I do it through negligence when I misspell words on my captions
Yeah,
and stuff.
right.
It's because I didn't
But
edit
some people do it on purpose
so they get the comments.
because they know that people are going to jump out and be like, you spelled this wrong.
It's not your.
Yeah, right? And it's like, we know, we can predict so much that people are going to point out each other's mistakes, that we do it on purpose to gamify it so that we can like win the algorithm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, if we make this mistake, we know people are going to jump in and make comments, and that's just going to drive the algorithm and make this go more viral. Like, it's so sad to think that that's the way that we are as a society, that we jump to push to point out people's mistakes so quickly.
I find myself doing that sometimes. I mean, like, I did it today when you're like, hey, come look at this new light that we got. And doesn't the light look great, by the way? This new light that we got. And I think I made the mistake of the first thing I did was like, oh, I thought it was going to be lower. Instead of like, wow, that looks so cool. The lighting is so much better. I caught myself doing that this morning.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It looks awesome. Okay, good. But like it consciously pinged my brain. I'm like, I didn't show gratitude and appreciation. And we've even like gamified it a little bit. Like, we'll tell each other, I need you to come ooh and ah. Right? I think that helps personally.
Sometimes, yeah.
You know, I need you to come.
You need to come ooh and ah before you pick this apart.
Right. I need you to come ooh and ah at something.
Yes, I know that it probably has some things that need to be improved on.
Yep.
But ooh and ah at first.
Yeah. Come be proud of me for a second. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's a tool that we use.
Yeah.
My mom and dad do this for each other. I get so much behavior from my parents. Who doesn't?
Oh, yeah.
But I got from my mom would say that to my dad, and my dad, this behemoth of a giant of a man in every way. I love and adore him. And finding his teddy bear moments are even more exciting for me. But when my dad comes to my mom and it's like, Mary, will you come ooh and ah at this for me? And it's like he re-roofed the entire house, or he strung up some lights in the backyard or something. I'm like, that's adorable. And my mom is the world's best praise giver. Have you ever received praise from my mom?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes she does it so much where I'm like, whoa, okay.
No, but she's
like,
so good at it.
It's not that big of a deal.
But it is though. Like, and she's not faking it either.
No, I know. That's where I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, okay, thank you for the praise. It's not that big of a deal though.
She'll go,
like, she's just amazing.
oh.
Yeah.
Did I nail it?
Oh yeah. That was perfect. And then
she'll sit there and be like, how did you do that?
Yeah. She'll ask all these questions.
She'll pick it apart.
She'll ask all these questions. It's like, you don't understand any of this. I know you don't.
But she cares.
But you care. And that's great that you care. But I know you don't understand any of this.
She's sitting there in the hospital with my dad, who just had his like a heart surgery. And she's like at the monitor, you know, that the doctors all look at, and with all the numbers and the stats, she's like, tell me about this. What does that mean? And not in a way that's like, I'm defending my husband and all that. But she's like,
she's genuinely
I wanna know
curious.
all of the things. And I'm sure the doctors are like, okay.
Yeah.
But I love that. And that's a page from her book that I hope to duplicate into my own, not in just parenting, but in business. And like I said, today I caught myself deviating from that. And it was so poignant to me that I'm still thinking about it hours later. And how can I walk into a room and give praise? Layla Hormozi talks about this so much. And I love the way that she portrays the conducting of her business. People do better more with praise than public ridicule.
Yeah.
You know? And gosh, I've made my fair share of mistakes on that.
Oh
my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's so bad. Last night, even we were all watching movies with the kids, and I lost it. It's like ruined the night because everyone was, oh man, we're like 30 minutes into this time we're supposed to be laughing at something together, and everyone's like throwing pillows at each other, and not in a fun way, and like yelling at each other about space. I'm like, just shut up. It was so bad. It was so bad. And the kids were thankfully very forgiving of me. I asked everyone's forgiveness and all that.
I think it was the wake up moment they needed. Like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, mom just snapped. And like, now that I look back, I understand why mom just snapped. Okay, I will stop fighting with my younger sibling.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I just want to enjoy the movie together. I'm like, let's have a good time. Yeah, okay, that worked. But anyway, it's something that I've been consciously working on. Back to your point of, how do we do business and family and home together and prioritize the time?
Yeah.
I think it's important to have the kids feel like the priority. And I worked on this with Charlie specifically, our 9-year-old, in terms of scheduling things. And I said, I want to dedicate whatever energy that this project needs that she's asking me to do with her. I want to dedicate time to it. Right now, my time has already been dedicated to something else. Something is on my calendar. And I pulled up my calendar and I showed her, not to say that you're not important to me, but exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
I said, this is so important to me that I want to block it off. How much time do you think we should dedicate to this? How much time do you think this needs?
Yeah.
And then we literally blocked it off on our calendar, on my calendar. And then I bought her a planner, and she's starting to learn time blocking and prioritizing. And gosh, that girl's the queen of distraction. She's going to get so much out of this tool of prioritizing.
Oh, yeah.
But
and you know what's so funny? People are going to hear that and they're going to be like, you don't make, you're so involved or whatever, or so disassociated that you have to calendar your time with your kids. To you who just thought that, screw you. Screw you.
I calendar time with my husband.
Yeah. We calendar our date night every week.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean I'm any less important.
It means you're more
It
important.
means I'm more important. So if you just immediately had the thought, oh, she's a bad mom, she even has to calendar her time with her parent. Screw you. We don't want you here. Leave.
Oh my gosh. I love you so much. Get away from my wife. But I deliberately do, though. I calendar time for myself.
It's to make sure that we set those priorities correctly. And it's like, and it's an important lesson to teach a 9-year-old girl. Like, you are important, but this is also important. And so we are going to set time aside correctly to be able to give this the right attention. Because if I try and drop everything to do this with you right now, I am going to be distracted. Mm-hmm. Because I'm supposed to be doing something else. Something else is being neglected right now.
And what does that teach her about the time that you blocked off with her?
Yeah, that it's not important either.
But when you keep your appointments...
Yeah, when you keep your appointment, that means that to her...
Nothing's going to interrupt it.
Nothing's going to interrupt my time with her.
Yeah.
Right? And it's... Yeah. Anyway, I hope people understand the point here that we're trying to make, that it's that teaching kids priorities by keeping your other priorities is probably one of the best lessons you can teach them. Because if you go to teach your kids that nothing else is more important and I'm just going to drop everything every time you ask for anything and just raise your hand, I'm going to drop everything. Like, what is that teaching your kids? Now they're going to enter
They turn into muffins.
Yeah.
They're muffins.
Yes, they turn into muffins. And
if you haven't seen Bluey, that's what we're referencing.
That's what we're referring to. Like, they turn into monsters.
I'm the most special one
I'm
in
the most
world.
special person, and nothing else in this world matters but me, and I demand that you give me attention. And they turn into these kids where you're trying to have a conversation with another adult, but their kid is at the entire time saying, Dad, 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 Mom, Mom, Mom. And it's like, I'm having a conversation right now. That is rude. Yes, you are most important thing in my life. But there's a time and a place.
One of the moments recently where that kind of came up was I remember chatting with David, and I watched from the sidelines his psychology, because he's very susceptible to, as we all are in our own way, but very susceptible to interpretation, unintentional interpretation.
Yeah.
You know, especially with the age that they're at. You know, when people are getting into their anywhere from age 6 to 15, 16, we are fantastic observers, but horrible interpreters for the most part. And something came up, and I feel like this is an ongoing, I don't want to say battle, but challenge, a lesson, where he'll misinterpret our priorities based on how we respond to things. I remember it was a couple of days ago, and I was having trouble hearing him or something, having trouble understanding. And I think I was in the middle of something, and whatever it was, he thought that whatever he had to say was not important or less important.
Yeah.
And I got heated about it. I was like, I need you to repeat it to me because I want to know. I didn't hear you and I wanted to hear you. And I watched this whole thing dissolve, and I then he felt like picked on and nitpicked and told to do 10 things at once, and he just got flustered and overwhelmed like he does. And it was right before he was supposed to go to school. And I sat down with him and I could see the limiting beliefs, like the core memories starting to form, like a sadness core memory. I'm like, no, stop it. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And so I sat down with him and I said, what do you need today? And he said this to me. He said, I don't feel like I can ask for what I need because you're too busy. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, okay, hold on. You need to understand that if you are in crisis, I will cancel everything on my calendar.
Yes.
If you are in emotional crisis, actual emotional crisis, if you're experiencing a trauma of some kind, it is my job as your mother to say, hey, listen, my family needs are coming up. I need to postpone our podcast. Or my son needs, and I have, as often as I have felt necessary, it ends up being like a few times a year where I will shut down my whole day and say, this child needs their mom today.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything else. And we either sit and do something like play a game, or maybe we'll go to a park, or maybe we'll go crazy and like go to Lagoon. I remember one time with Addie, she was having a crisis, and she's not one that says so. You just have to catch it.
Yeah.
You know? And I picked her up, this is before we met. I picked her up from her weekend with her biological father, and she was at church with my mom. And I was like, I need to take Addie out. And I picked her up from my mom's church, and I took her to Lagoon. And we spent the whole day, just her and me, at Lagoon. And now she doesn't have a sadness core memory. She has a core memory that mom went above and beyond to be with me. And as I'm not saying that I'm perfect at that, but as often as I can overtake a sadness core memory, or even infect the sadness with an element of joy, I'm okay with the kids experiencing the full gamut of emotions, right?
Yeah.
I'm not okay with those emotions turning into long-term trauma or limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Right? So if there's a sadness core memory, I want there to be a bright side.
Yeah.
You know, maybe she's sad about something we can't change. I can't remember what it was that day. Maybe it was just something to do with her parents being separated and all of that. I can't change that.
Yeah.
I don't want to change that. But I want to say, even with that hard time that you're going through, there was a bright side, and mom is here.
Yeah.
Right? And that's my goal in raising the kids is, you know, teaching them these skills of time management and prioritization. But at the end of the day, when you need to be praised or when shit hits the fan, that's what I'm here for. And with, you know, Jalen moving out in the last 48 hours, holy crap. That's like, I've had this whole gamut of emotions with that. I cried, you know, for a little bit once because it was hard to see her grow up.
Yeah.
You know, people say all the time, the best thing about being a parent is watching your kids grow up. It's also the worst thing about being a parent.
Yeah.
And watching her grow up and move out has been really hard. But just this morning, I was thinking about it because it was like experiencing the dynamic of the house, and it feels different around here. And I commented on it. And I was just downstairs with the girls, and I was like, hey, it feels so different with Jalen gone. And they're like, yeah, it's sad. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, that's true. There is some I miss you element to this.
Yeah.
I kind of started to look for the bright side, and I was like, okay, hang on. First of all, this was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You're supposed to grow up. You're supposed to get out on there on your own, and you're supposed to make things happen. So the fact that Jalen's not home right now is the result of a good thing.
Yeah.
She's out there. She's making things happen. She's dating, and she's with what seems to be a wonderful person. And we have yet to get to know him really well, but that's okay. We're liking what we see so far. And she's taking what I feel like are necessary risks, and she's killing it. So the reason that she's gone is because everything is going right, not because everything is going wrong. And that is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
That's a reason to be celebrated. And while we're dealing with the struggle of that, watching her grow up, I'm also like, okay, but that's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
You know, we're dealing with the appropriate kind of problems that we should be right now. And it's kind of exciting. I'm just proud of her. I'm proud of all of our kids.
Yeah, I am too. And I'm grateful that I've been able to be part of their lives.
Me too. I often look back at those younger pictures of them before we met, and they're getting fewer and fewer because just more time has passed. But there are those times when I look at those younger pictures and I'm like, I hope you can see the joy of and get to know them who they were when they were little, just through pictures and stories.
Yeah.
Because you weren't there, and so there's an element of sadness to that, but also like it wasn't possible for you to be there.
No.
Then
No, it wasn't.
I mean,
Everything happened for a reason, and the timing that it happened.
Perfectly.
So, yeah.
Perfectly. It still cracks me up that we were in Nauvoo when you were on your mission there.
I know, right?
When Jalen and Sienna were babies.
The timing of things. It's kind of funny when you say things like that, where it's like, yeah, when Jalen was born, I was still a junior in high school, and it makes it seem like, but it's only a couple of years difference, and just very different times of starting different stages of life. So, but I'm grateful for the stage of life that we're in now.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I love this. With your podcast.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that because it's coming out. You're launching it soon.
Yep. So, when we did the podcast database, the podcast,
we say that phrase so often. It's much. Like autofill on our own language.
Okay. So when we did the podcast workshop, it was just like, here I am, like on sales calls telling people to start their podcast because I think it's that important and so good. And here I was sitting here thinking, God, I'm kind of a hypocrite because I don't even have my own podcast. And then I thought about it for a little while. I was like, well, what would I even have my podcast about? I don't do cybersecurity anymore. That's what we hear
people say all the time.
Right? Well, and I think a lot of people know what they would talk about. They know what they would do, but they just don't have the skills. They don't know how to do a podcast. For me, it's like right now in the stage that I'm at with my quote unquote career, right, is I am building this business, but public speaking is not my passion, right? That's your passion. And right now I'm helping build that business. But it's like, well, what would I say is my passion? Right now, to be honest, I don't even know, right? For the longest time, it was cyber, but it's not anymore, right? Right now, my passion is just being with you and the kids and building this business and the life that we've built here. And so I was like, well, then what would I even talk about on a podcast? But then I think about, well, a podcast is so much more than just talking about something in particular. Jimmy Rex, it's now the second time I've referred to him in his podcast, but
hi, Jimmy.
He talks, I've heard him say on his podcast that it's been one of the best just overall business and networking tools that he has.
Big time.
Because it's not very common that you get to sit down one-on-one with somebody without a phone present. They're not going to pull their phone out during a podcast, right? So you get very dedicated one-on-one time to sit down and just get to know somebody and have a conversation. And so he would say all the time, he'd meet people and he would just be like, I want to get to know this person better, whether I want to do business with them or not or whatever. I just want to get to know them. So I'm going to invite them on my podcast. And that's going to be the great way to be able to get to know them. So it's been a huge tool for him in just networking. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't have to have my podcast like your podcast is geared towards public speakers, right? Mine is not going to have my podcast is geared towards this. It's just going to be, I'm just having conversations with people. And it's so funny. People are going to be like, oh yeah, that's just like Joe Rogan. And yeah, kind of, right? Joe Rogan is just getting to know random people. And yeah, maybe it is a little bit like that.
Obviously it works.
It works for him, right? And it's not even for me to be able to try and grow a podcast as big as Joe Rogan, right? It's just this will be a great way to be able to have some conversations with people and I guess kind of at the same time not feel like a hypocrite trying to sell people podcasts when I don't even have my own podcast, right? So yeah, I'll be interviewing just about anybody you can think of, right? For you, it's been a little interesting because there's all these people that we want to talk to, but it's like, well, but they don't get on stage. So it doesn't fit the podcast very well. And it's been a challenge to figure out what to do with that. And I won't ever have that challenge with my podcast. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
I've actually not, I don't know. I don't want to say I've struggled with that as far as my guests go, because there's so many different ways to be on stage.
Oh, there are. Yeah. And that's what's great about the idea of stages, because even being on social media is a type of digital stage, 100%. Right? And so So there is that aspect to it. So there's an easier way to be able to capture people and still fit them into your niche. But someone who is like a financial coach, right? They're going to be pretty limited on what they bring onto their podcast for the most part, unless they widen it. So it's like that challenge of, do you niche down or do you be more broad? But if you're trying to talk to everybody, you're talking to nobody type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why, for me, the podcast is more for me than it is for anyone who's listening. I don't care if nobody listens to my podcast.
Episode with Heather,
I don't care if anyone listens or not. For me, it's an opportunity for me to be able to sit down with that other person without any distractions and have a conversation.
I agree with that. There's so much utility to the podcast, and there's so many reasons to do one. That is a big one.
Yeah.
That is a huge one for me. When we got to sit down for an hour with Keaton and talk about the back end of the Limitless Arena, that was
cool.
So cool. And I
Yeah.
hope I can have him on the show again, because I want to continue to pick his brain on things, and we might as well record it.
And
just let it out to the world, because he's kind of an open book. It's really cool, but we can dig into those deeper recesses. And then also, I want to produce things that my audience finds interesting. But at the same time, if I find it interesting, there's a good chance that my audience is going to find it interesting, because I've built a personal brand.
Yeah.
So I like I said, I want to have that Blue Angels pilot on the show.
Yeah.
Because holy crap, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
Right. And I want to talk about the ditty that they sing while they're flying the airplanes. I want to talk about what it was like. And like, I know Renee would love to hear from her, because Renee wanted to be a fighter pilot. And holy cow, it's like that reel just lit me up. I got to have her on the show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be cool.
But I don't know if she's taking a public speaking circuit. I don't even care. But if I have her on the show, hey, can you come be on my podcast? That would just be awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have people who my audience knows and can learn from, but I also want to have people that interest me, because that's the conversation that's natural. And I also want to bring on brand new people that are success stories. Like, look at Jen. She's just barely started her public speaking circuit this year, and she's got a whole slew of clients. Look at Renee, who hasn't even delivered a signature keynote yet, and she's getting new clients just about every day.
Yeah.
And those stories are worth telling too, because anyone that's listening that is in that position is going to be like, oh crap, well, okay, they're struggling, or they just overcame the thing that I'm working on. That's valid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I have had so much fun, and I refuse to do anything anymore that's not fun. We've talked about this with our business. If it stops being fun, we need to take a break.
Yeah.
Not from the whole business, but just like take a break from the day, or go do something that's fun, and then come back to this so it can be fun again. Because if it ever gets to be where it's drudgery, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Just go back and get a job.
Yeah.
If you're going to have drudgery, just go back and get a job. I don't want to do that. Yeah, we gotta have fun doing this. So, when does your podcast drop? Do we have a drop date on that?
It'll be dropped before this drops. So, well, let's see. No, this is dropping on Sunday. So, yeah,
pretty close.
I'll have it'll drop before, maybe the same day. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll drop it the same day.
That would be fun.
That way we'll put the link to the show in the show notes for this one.
That's a good idea.
We'll link that podcast.
Who do you want to have on your podcast?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. There's probably, I'm sure that there are people that I've never met that I would love to be able to pick the brain of. I feel like I look to so much of his content, and I have used so much of his content. Alex Hormozi would be an amazing person to have a conversation with.
People think you look so
But
much alike.
I know, it's kind of funny. I've had a lot of
Mason.
people where I've posted like a story,
Yeah.
like reposted one of Alex's stories,
Yeah.
and someone will reply and be like, "Oh, I thought this was you at first." It's like, I wish I was as jacked as Alex Hormozi. I wish
Do you
I was
remember?
that jacked, but I'm not.
Mason was like, "Why did Richard just post a picture of himself surrounded by huge stacks of cash?" I was like, "His hair's shorter. He doesn't have a man bun anymore." But
And I don't have the shoulders of that Greek god. No.
we're working on it. Gym time's coming up.
Gym time.
Oh my
But,
gosh.
No, I would love to interview Alex Hormozi. I think that would be great. And
I'm gonna have
I
Layla
think
on the show.
Layla would be cool too. I
On my
think
show.
It would be really cool, I think, to be able to talk to Alex and be like, okay, like, I have used so much of what you've done. Like, I would love to be able to one day reach out to Alex and be like, yo, you want to be able to talk about how your 3 books, $100 million offers, $100 million leads, and $100 million sales, led to us building $100 million business. Like, like you were the main source of information that I used to build this business. Like, let's talk about that. How cool would that be? I would love to be able to do that.
That would be awesome. Okay, so there's one dream guest. Do you have any other dream guests that you would have on the show? When I say dream guests, these are people that don't know we exist yet.
Yeah, I would say another one would probably be Gary Vee. I've learned a lot of things from him, and you know, I love his stance on, like, because he's all about like, get out there, get on social media, use it. And his big thing with kids is, a lot of people ask him, well, like, how do you limit screen time and that kind of stuff? And his answer is always like, no, expose the kids to it. But then how do you protect the kids? And his answer is, you teach that kid to have self-esteem and it won't matter.
Yeah, I loved hearing that. That was one of the most impactful punches from that Limitless Arena.
Yeah.
Is when you said, if you give your kids and teach them enough self-esteem, then they won't need to be insulated.
It won't matter. Yeah. It won't matter
what
they see online. It won't matter what bullying happens. If they have real good self-esteem, they'll get through it. And it won't matter.
Figuring that out.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
That's like the challenge, right?
Every child builds self-esteem differently.
It builds them differently, and some people struggle with self-esteem more than others, and some of our kids struggle with it more than others. But
so you've got your two dream guests.
Yeah.
Who do you think will be in your first half dozen guests? Who would you have on your show?
Well, so that's, I think that I've got a couple of friends that I would love to bring on the show. I think it would be great to have a good conversation with Jeremy.
I would love
on
to
podcast.
Watch that.
That would be a good one. Ryan would be another really good podcast guest.
That's going to go deep real fast. That's my prediction.
That'll be a good one. I would love to get to know Splash a little bit better and bring him on a podcast episode. That'd be kind of cool.
He'd be totally game for that.
I'm sure he would be. Yeah. Yeah. Be interesting. I think it's just going to be a good tool for me to have when I meet people at different events and different get-togethers and different things. To just be like, hey, I just started a podcast. Do you want to be a guest? I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. We have the X Room coming up in a couple of days. I would love to be able to go to the X Room. For real,
that's great timing.
I'd love to be able to go to the X Room and be like, hey, I have a podcast, and I would love to have you on and get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect opportunity. Because, and this will be a plug for starting a podcast for other people, right? Is being a guest on a podcast right now, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, it's still kind of like I was a guest on a podcast, it's still kind of like people look at it as it's a big freaking deal.
And it is.
And so it's a way to be able to get people to have a conversation with you that probably normally wouldn't give you an hour of their time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I heard a story from someone, I can't remember who it was. They were telling the story about how they were trying to get a meeting with this person. And they were like, oh, well, I don't have time for a meeting. They kept blowing them off. And then they were like, well, I'd love to have you on my podcast. And boom, all of a sudden they were like, oh, okay, yeah. When can we do that? Like, I'll be on your podcast. They couldn't get a meeting with this person for 15 minutes to save their lives. But as soon as they brought up, be a guest on my podcast, boom, they were like, okay, yeah, when do you want to do it? And so I think, kind of selfishly, it's a great way to be able to get in rooms with people that normally wouldn't give you the time of day.
Well, and that's what I said about Angie. When I had Angie on my show, I had been following Angie since DVDs were a thing.
Yeah.
That was one of my first big investments into my photography business back in the day. Was I paid like $120 a month to have DVDs shipped to my door, and I would watch those DVDs religiously, and that's where I met Angie. And what's cool about that is that when we had Angie on, we just learned that when she got approached about that DVD thing, they didn't know that she would be. I mean, she wasn't a big deal in the photography industry.
Yeah.
At that point, she became a big deal through that. And I had been like, man, she puts on these cool retreats, and she's I love watching everything she does online. She's all about woman power and divine feminine and all this. And then I've wanted to go on her retreats, and I couldn't, either for financial reasons or because time or whatever. But the moment I was like, Angie, do you want to come over and be on my podcast?
She was like, yeah.
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 I was like,
people
oh my gosh.
Who normally wouldn't give you the time of day. Not to say they're being rude, right?
No,
but
it's just there's no
to them,
ROI.
they're like, why would I give an hour of my time to go meet with this stranger that I don't really see any benefit out of?
And it's not selfish either.
And yeah, I get it.
Sometimes where is there a win for both of us?
Sometimes there's just not a win, but by saying, come be on my podcast, you're presenting that other person with a huge benefit, at least in their mind. Even if you just barely started and you have 2 people who watch your podcast, to them, they're like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll come be on your podcast.
Well, and there's some people that are like, oh, if your podcast doesn't have this many viewers,
then they're not.
showing
Yeah,
up
then
on
they're
it.
not going to be on.
And that's
To them, it's not
okay.
an ROI.
There's not
and
yeah.
I get it. That's why right now, if we tried to get someone, huge on your podcast, we'd probably have to pay for it, right?
And depending on the person, we just had
Yeah.
Keaton on, and
We-
he was
yeah.
so generous with his time.
he was
to do that
generous
for
with
us.
his time, and there are others that are not as generous with their time.
And that's okay. I'm not judging
that's
that
what,
at all.
and I'm not either. But that's what I'm saying is a podcast can sometimes be a way
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get people who are more stingy with their time to be a little bit more giving with their time.
Yeah. And if I were to word that differently, I would just say a podcast is a great way for people to see the win in spending time with you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because you can cut up the content, they can use it for their channels, you can use it for theirs. And
You give them the raw video, you give them the raw audio.
Yep.
You can split it up into clips and shorts that they will find good, and you just give it to them.
Yep.
It's like, hey, in exchange for this time, you're going to get all this content.
Yep, you get the footage, you get the audio.
Yeah.
You can cut it. There's posts you can make, and
All of
gosh,
this.
I've had such incredible guests on the show. I've had Colton on the show. I've had Keaton on the show. I've had Angie on the show. I've had Rachel Brooks Smith on the show. Like, I've had such a fun lineup, and I never would have been able to spend an hour with any of these people.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's too much of a blanket statement, but with the quantity and quality of people I have been able to spend time with, it would not have been possible without the podcast.
Yeah.
Carte blanche. When I went down to Miami, that was my CTA for the room.
Yeah.
I said, come and be on my show.
Yeah.
And while everyone's trying to give out something that nobody else is interested in,
Yeah.
right? Come download my book. I'm like, gosh, nobody cares about your book right now. Like, and it's me saying that,
Yeah,
right?
right.
People who tells people to write books. But you have to give your audience what they want. And in that room, I got Hope Zvara on my podcast, and she's a badass. I love that girl. And that gave, I cannot think of another way that I would have been able to spend time with a beautiful woman who lives in Wisconsin, far away from here, than on the show. And she was so kind and generous, and we had such a blast. In fact, I want to do a 2.0 here, maybe early next year. But oh gosh, yeah. If there's any doubt in your mind as to why you should start a podcast,
Yeah.
you don't even have to do it with us. Just do
Just
it.
start one. And it's all you need is
Your phone.
your iPhone.
Yeah.
You can do it with your phone.
You can do it with Zoom.
You can
I
do
have
it with
remote
Zoom.
people all the time.
Yeah, do it with Zoom. Just have a conversation over Zoom and record it, and then post it to YouTube, and you have a podcast.
Ta-da!
Super easy. So,
Okay. Well, is there anything that you want everyone to know? The podcast is going to be in the show notes, but is there anything you want to?
yeah, I would just say, I guess if I'm going to do a CTA, right, I
Yeah.
have, through this, learned a ton about marketing automation. It's something I did a ton also before at some of the other businesses that I've owned, and I've implemented a lot of it with this business, and because of it, I've kind of started doing it for other people, kind of started an agency, so to say, by
Yeah,
accident
yeah. Whoops.
by doing this, right?
Start another business, left to my own
And
devices
so
long enough.
if anyone out there is listening and wants to learn how to do some of these things, reach out. I'll have a link in the description.
Yeah.
We'll put it there, and I'd love to help people figure out how to automate, things, or maybe you want a more robust website. You want to be able to have something like an ebook giveaway, so that when you get on stage, you can
In the right audience.
Yeah, you're in the right audience. You have a giveaway or a book or a database or something, and you want to be able to put up a QR code and have all of that magic happen behind the scenes, where when someone enters their name and email, they get what you're promising, but also at the same time, now you have that lead to be able to hopefully sell them on something and put them into your email campaigns and do all that kind of stuff. So
I will say this.
yeah.
If you guys follow that we had a CTA earlier in this podcast, it's if you want the podcast database that we are it's built, but we also add to it twice a week.
Yeah.
So there's over 600, maybe 700 shows by now that are on there. There's over 700 guests that need shows. It's a fabulous database to find your next show or to find your next guest. Watch this. So if you pull out your phone and you text the word podcast to 801-509-5495, what's going to happen is, one, you're going to get access to that database. That's going to be sent over to you. But the cool thing about it is I want you to watch what Richard has built and watch how the automation works. So when you do have something for your business, now when people text me that word podcast, I'm not texting in and responding to every person. It's built.
Nope.
That's what Richard is the king of. So if you know that you want to turn your audience into leads, and you've got to have a system to do it. And that's what Richard is so, so brilliant at. One of his many talents is having that automation built, having the keywords built. If you ever see anything on Instagram where it's like, comment this word below and you'll get a response and a text and a DM, Richard builds those too. So that's part of the entire CRM management system. It's part of the lead acquisition and nurturing system. That all of those things are under one umbrella, and Richard has done it all. Absolutely done it all. It's the way we take out of me interacting personally with whatever leads I get to interact with or whatever customers. Outside of that, it's how we interact with them without having to dedicate my time, because I would plumb just run out of it.
Yeah.
If we needed to.
There's no way.
No, we have 4,000 people in our database. There's
no way to be able to talk to all of those. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that you do have individual conversations with,
I
right?
absolutely do.
Yes, the response that comes back and says, "Hey, here's the link," and all that. Yeah, that's automated. But
and I don't hide
but when
that.
someone chimes in and says, "Hey, how's it going? Did you apply or something?" Like that's usually Marianne.
It is
jumping in and doing that manually, and she does that sparingly because she wouldn't be able to get to everybody by hand. But we don't have bots that pretend to be Marianne.
Yeah, if I have an automated message, I'm telling you it's automated, and it's only there because it's helping both of us.
Yeah.
It speeds up your delivery time.
I could create a bot that would pretend to be you and have conversations with people, and that's simple enough to do. The technology is there, and we could do it, but we just don't. We have chosen not to do that for our brand, and so
I have a friend who does that for her brand, and she likes it, and it fools me sometimes.
Yeah,
but it also, again, maybe we will one day, but
maybe one day, but right now,
so
yeah, not yet.
So if people want to find you, where's your podcast is showing up? That'll be in the show notes. How do we find you?
The Richard Hickman Show is what it will be called. That's weird to say, but you can find me on Instagram, Richard R. Hickman, and my website for our business, peaked.consulting.
Spell it though, because
PIQUED, peaked.consulting.
Like piqued your interest.
Yeah.
But also a double entendre because we think we're so clever.
Yeah, right.
And we are.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you for doing another episode with me, babe.
Yep.
I love you.
This was fun. Love you too.
Congratulations on episode 50.
Yeah.
We'll do another one on the 100.
Yeah, I think we'll probably do this every 50 episodes. We'll probably do a touch point. That'd be fun.
Okay. We can watch all of our episodes together and be like, oh, look, they're not in their bedroom anymore. And
yeah, right.
Look,
if you go back and look, I think it's episode 2 or something like that, 1 or 2. It's definitely our bedroom.
The creepiest way possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being part of the Marianne Hickman Show. Make sure you check out Richard's show. It's going to be published, sounds like the same day you're watching this. It's probably already out. So go check it out and go get to know your own business and what we're doing in our business so you can build your business better. Thank you for being here again. Stay tuned. We'll see you in the next episode.
Sweet. Yep. And then people are live still. So.
Oh, that's right. Do we have any comments?
No, I've been kind of peeking over there. I haven't seen any.
Oh,
although that would only show some of them. If someone commented on Instagram, we wouldn't see it on that feed.
Oh, poo-poo.
So actually, let's go. I'm gonna pull that up.
Go pull up the comments and see if we can look at your ninja skills. I know where you learned those ninja skills. I Heather's book. I need to go to the salon, babe. My hair is like getting. Oh, you said yeah.
Yeah,
it's
you
really
do.
bad.
I tell you all the time to go to the salon.
Is it that bad?
It's just you don't listen to me. You don't go to the salon.
I just haven't booked it.
You need to spend some time at the salon.
Book it. Oh.
Okay, let's see.
Is that your husband's way of telling you that you're fugly?
No.
You need to spend some time at the salon.
Okay.
Oh, that's too
Splash said, "Bless you, LOL."
Oh, that's when I sneezed. Thanks, Splash.
Cyrus Web Reviews said, "Love that. All about the potential of what we can be." Kyle. Yeah.
Hey,
Heck yeah, Kyle. Kyle
Best friend Kyle
said, "Streaming room looks amazing."
Thanks, bro. He helped us build it.
Yeah, he did.
He's like, he wasn't on stilts, but he's taller than us and was helping us put the ceiling drywall up.
Okay. Oh, and then someone said, "I like your way of talk."
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I like your way of comment.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it.
All right, friends, thanks for hanging with us. Whenever we do podcasts, we try to stream live as much as we can, and those just happen throughout the week. If you're watching this and you want to see the full episode or see the other episodes, it's on the Marianne Hickman Show. That's wherever you watch podcasts. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Amazon, wherever it is. Those drop Sunday. So make sure that you go in, listen to those. If you want to subscribe to that, we would love for you to subscribe. That way you can get an email every Sunday when the new podcasts drop. So this will be coming out soon. Thanks for being with us.